Hey, Steve Magnante here at High-Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with a 1967 Chevy El Camino. Now, 1967 was a very popular year for Chevrolet's mid-sized A-body platform, with a total of 404,000 Malibus and Chevelles being sold, but of them, only 26,480 were El Caminos. Why? Well, not everybody needed a civilized pickup truck. Most people needed passenger hauling capabilities. So again, 26,480, and of them, only about 1,500 were six-cylinder powered. This one is not six-cylinder powered. This one is very special 502 under the hood. Here's the thing. The El Camino is based on the Chevy station wagon platform, same wheelbase, and in fact in the back, in a moment we'll look at this, there's a panel back there that if you lift it up, you'll see the footwell area where the station wagon back seat people would have put their feet if you had the station wagon body style. But again, the El Camino is strictly a two-door pickup truck like we see here. No four doors, no convertibles, unless you customize them yourself, and this is not that. So again, a beautiful example here of a 1967 Chevy El Camino. Been lightly customized, but the beauty here is we do see the Super Sport hood, straight off of Chevelle SS, and very good looking piece of styling right there. And they don't do anything at all, but they help to sell the heck out of Chevelle Super Sports and are a great add-on touch-up for a non-SS El Camino or Malibu. So here we have it here. Now up front, the beautiful grille, which was restyled for 1967. 1966, a little more shapes. This is more curvaceous on the edges. Beautiful chrome bumper with bumperettes, bumper guards here. And under the 502, I think the tip of the iceberg is right here on the fender. There is the emblem that says 502. Now the 502 was not ever sold under the hood of a Chevrolet, but you could buy them from GM Performance Parts, and let's take a look at it. And there she blows. Now the 502, that's a reference to the torque and horsepower ratings and the cubic inches. And these were sold by the dozens, by the hundreds, tens of thousands I should say, by Chevrolet High Performance, or GM Performance Parts, there we go. And the 502 has an iron block, 4-bolt mains, good connecting rods, and aluminum heads with I think 218 intake and 179 exhaust, something like that, bigger valves. Great cylinder heads, and again, lightweight right there, so it's lighter than an iron head ever could be. These things also came with a Holley double pumper carburetor, 4-barrel, the aluminum intake with the GM Performance Parts logo right there, the bow tie. So basically the 502 was one of Chevrolet or GM Performance Parts' best-selling big block crate engines before the LS family came along and displaced these as the bang for the buck engines. Now this one's been fortified with a March-style serpentine belt with billet aluminum bracketry. Of course, the aluminum water pump right there, another part of the 502 Deluxe package. And but again, the billet stuff is a nice add-on. This does have air conditioning, aftermarket stuff right here, more effective than the GM Frigidaire components, much lighter, and a nice tidy presentation under the hood. Of course, the MSD Digital 6AL right here, a great ignition enhancer to make sure the 502 can run all the way up to 6,500 RPM. And a beautiful example right here. Now inside, let's have a look and see what we have in there. And inside, it's nice to see a bench seat up front, which allows 3 people potentially to sit side by side, or 2 in more comfort. This one does have a B&M Quicksilver ratchet shifter for the Turbo 400 automatic transmission under the transmission tunnel. Aftermarket gauges right here, good stuff for oil pressure, water temperature, and amperes for the charging system. Has an AM/FM radio right here. It's aftermarket stuff. A CD player right here. There must be a remote CD player in this car, so that's nice. I like CDs. The dashboard and all the dash padding and stuff is absolutely nice reproduction stuff. And just interesting to note, on the left-hand side of the speedometer, we see the blinker tachometer, which is a Chevrolet factory item on Super Sports, because the actual left-hand turn signal is obscured by that tachometer, so they have that right there. And in fact, in the tach face is a green arrow to indicate the left-hand turns, and ironically, the secondary blinker still works in the dashboard, although you can't see it if you're staring at it from the side. But again, beautifully restored inside of this, very crisp. The air conditioning outlets and things right here, and of course the these right here, the Astro ventilation vents here on each side of the dashboard. Just nicely done. Steering wheel, one of the best in the business, really. It looks like wood grain. It's not. It's plastic. Of course, the aluminum is real, but it's a very sporty steering wheel, very much reminiscent of Ferrari and British sports cars. Same idea. Has the tilt column. Very nice to see that. So if you drink too much soda, you can jump right behind the wheel, regardless of your girth. But a very comfortable car. And again, the bench seat up front is a nice touch. Let's fold these forward and have a look and see what's behind the bench. Okay, and this has an aftermarket, we can see the aftermarket stereo. And here's some big speakers, crank up the Van Halen or whatever you want to listen to. But here's the drive shaft tunnel right here, which continues all the way under the bed. Now, in a second, we'll lift up the tonneau cover and reveal something that most people don't know about El Caminos. Let's take a look now. Before we lift the tonneau cover, let's take a look at the tailgate, which is pretty much the same item used on the Chevelle or the Malibu station wagon or the Chevelle station wagon right here. Open it up and you have access to the load floor. And speaking of the load floor, here is what it looks like inside underneath the tonneau. Now the tonneau is not a factory piece. It's a very popular aftermarket item that most people add to their El Caminos to protect things from, from visuals and from thefts, if you will. And of course the battery is located here up inside of the cargo bay, which is a good place for it because it's higher in the center of gravity. It's more weight transfer when you punch the gas. We'll get to that in a second. And this is the panel right here. It's bolted down. And if you lift that up, you have to unscrew. It takes you about half an hour to really get that thing out of there. But if you lift that up, you'll see the remains, or actually the footwell of the station wagon floor pan, which is the same stamping used on, again, the station wagon. And why reinvent the wheel? And it's there. If you had X-ray vision, you would see under that 2 footwells and the drive shaft tunnel going right underneath it. So speaking of the drive shaft, what does it feed into? A 10 bolt, a 12 bolt? Or something else? Well, surprise, surprise. Somebody had the common sense to add a Ford 9-inch to this one here, which is a very robust rear axle with 502 foot-pounds of torque. The 10 bolt, even the 12 bolt might be overwhelmed if you had good traction. So that a Ford 9-inch under the back of this, which is a nice touch. A nice example of some Gibson stainless steel exhaust system coming out of the back. So it's very presentable. You could get some trophies with this at a Cars and Coffee event for sure. Beautiful paint, and the detailing on the paint goes right to the tailgate hinges right here, not chipped or checked or cracked or anything like that. Very nice example of, a nicely modified, sort of a custom, little bit of resto mod, if you will. And speaking of resto mod, this does have American Racing wheels. These are billet aluminum wheels right here. They're wide in the back with Mickey Thompson ET Street radials, nice and sticky. You can do a burnout with those things and heat them up and gets pretty decent traction even with the 502 foot-pounds of torque. And speaking of burnouts, this does have line lock. And here on the shifter, on the B&M Quicksilver, you see that little red button. That's the button you would push to activate the line lock, hit the brakes, he'll hold the button, and then when you release the button, the car moves forward. But as long as you hold it down, you can do a burnout as long as you want to. Heat those Mickey Thompson ET Street radial drag radials and get this car ready for a nice launch. So that's the story of this 1967, sort of lightly modified and half restored. It's a resto mod, if you will, El Camino. And again, not very popular when it was new, 44,000 constructed, something like that back in 1967. So not really leading the sales race, but people who wanted these things were and are rabid about them. So to see more about this car, go to the High-Octane Classics website and check out the photo gallery.